Welcome to Inside Sources. My name is Laolu Akonde. Thank you for joining us. First, my take for the week. You will recall that we had raised the issue of the $3 billion Afrexim loan to NNPC. We had said that the major problem with that idea is that this is a resource-backed loan. But good news, the money has come in and $1 billion has already been paid into the Nigerian coffers. But here are my concerns going forward. Number one, we now have additional brokers beside Afrexim who will receive 2% of the deal. Tony Elumelu's UBA is 1, O&O is 2, and 1 or 2 other local brokers have joined the deal. And that is why the cost has gone up from 3 billion to 3.3 billion. The question is, why? Afrexim was a broker. Why do we need local brokers and increasing the cost of what Nigeria has to pay? The second issue is it better? Is this a better deal than for us to go to IMF? Normally, what the IMF will ask in the main is that we should remove the subsidy and we should harmonize the foreign exchange, among few other issues. But the president has already taken those bold steps. So why didn't we try the IMF option, which Egypt tried in 2016? And between 2016 and 2019, Egypt actually got $12 billion. Wouldn't have that been cheaper? Wouldn't that have that also kept Nigeria in line with the fiscal responsibility bill that asks government to go for concessionary loans in international borrowing? These are the issues. Going forward, let us ensure that the options that we take are the best for the people of Nigeria and for the money that we have. I'm talking about cheaper options and more effective options. We hope that this money will help the situation and hopefully Nigeria can raise even more, because if you look at the books, CBN has to pay out about $6 billion already in outstanding remittances. But again, this is good news. It's a good place to start, and we hope things get better going forward. And that is my take. I'll be right back with our guest for today. Welcome again to Inside Sources. As we continue our conversation on the future of Nigeria, today I have a distinguished, most eminent Nigerian, former President Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, as our guest. General Excellency, thank you so much for joining us on Inside Sources.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year.
Same to you, sir. Thank you so much. Like I was just discussing with you, it turns out that one of the things that drive development is ideas. And clearly, even your critics will concede, that you are driven by a lot of ideas. So I wanted to ask, just to start it up, that do you think that Nigeria is on the right direction towards building a greater country? In your view, sir?
I think my answer to that is yes, because of the resources we have in the country. The people are very, very resilient, very inquisitive. They ask questions. They want you to tell them why you had to do that. They keep you on alert all the time. And a country with such kind of people, I think they have their future is quite great. I think this country will be a great country.
But in terms of where we are today, many people don't agree that we are in a good place yet over the years. What's your perception on that?
I have always said that ours is a developing country. And once you start, you must have ups and downs. But as long as you are prepared as a country to learn from the lessons of the past, then we don't have any problem. And Nigerians have the patience. They have the understanding and the resilience to do it. I have no problem with that.
Yeah. Okay. So still talking about that future. A lot of commentators make a big deal out of the issue of restructuring. That we need to have a situation where there's more devolution of powers away from the center, that's the federal government, to the states. How do you respond, or what's your own understanding of restructuring, and do you think it is something that has to happen?
Like you rightly observed, in 1989, we set up a committee, this one on devolution of powers, under late, may his soul rest in peace, Alhaji Abdurrahman Okene.
Okay, yeah.
He looked at that. This is because we were thinking at that time how we will get the federation structured, even though we are a military regime then, but we were thinking about it. I believe in restructuring if it means devolution of powers to the states, to give them more powers. In that means that you are going to give them more resources to run their own affairs, so that we run a federal government the way federation is run all over the world.
Yeah. So far, we've not, in my view, and this is my personal view, General. So far, we've not managed to do a good job of running that federal system. There seems to be a lot of a unitary mentality, and many people think that was because of the incursion of military into politics. What's your take on that?
I think that's one of the effects of the aberration of the military regime. If it tampered with the democratic process, such things happen. But I believe that it wouldn't appear. It wouldn't happen again because the Nigerians are becoming more interested in becoming a truly democratic country, a nation, at least in Africa. And such things will not, I don't think it will happen.
So do you think it is fair to say that in the process of the country's development, just like you considered that the military incursion was an aberration for the democratic process, do you think that the military has also been a challenge to the country's economic development? Or do you think indeed the military was actually a blessing?
No, I think the military, like we earlier talked about, we consulted same Nigerians on economy, and most of them, if you recall, in the 70s, there were a lot of reforms that were done, handing over certain enterprises back to the people and so on. So it started with the military, really. And when we came, we did the structural adjustment program, where we got the civil society involved in the economic management, and government no longer gets interested in running an agricultural farm or something like that, and allow people to do it themselves. We freed the economy. We allowed the private sector to be the hub of the economic development of the country.
Interesting. When you were in power, and this happens generally, I've seen it, so it's not just during when you were in power. When you were in power, there were people who felt that you were trying to perpetuate yourself in government. Now, with the current president, there are people who are now saying that, the man wants a one-party state, So it seems this is the kind of narrative that happens generally. But my question to you is that, what kind of partisans or political structure in terms of parties do you think should Nigeria have a two-party state? I remember, that you came up with the idea of a little to the left and a little to the right. Essentially a two-party state. So there's fears that okay, maybe this is going one party. So I put the question to you, sir. What kind of structure do you think is ideal for Nigeria politically?
Well, politically, if you recall, you must be a very young man by that time. But if you recall, in about immediately after the independence,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Nigeria tended to gravitate towards two political party system. The number of parties you have, they later come back, form coalition,
Yes.
so as to gain power and so on. So it happened in the First Republic, it happens in the Second Republic, and it showed itself again in Third, and even the current Republic is that gravitation. So two-party, to us at that time, we believe Nigerians are capable of running two-party system. And it saves you a lot of wahala, no rancor. The more parties you have, people will get their villages to say that they control their villages, so they have to be recognized as a political party. This is the fact of this country. You must accept it. When you say no, somebody will tell you yes. Somebody will tell you no, you can do it this way better. It's a country of ideas. So take advantage of those ideas so as to do what they have always tended to think that should be the right thing. And I believe if it's about choice,
Right.
two, you can choose from two. Choose either A or B.
Okay.
If you don't want, forget it. Then you can be independent on your own. You can do what you want. If it comes to contesting, you can contest as an independent candidate.
Right.
If you are strong enough to get people to support you, no problem.
Interesting. So you are still advocating for a two-party state?
I believe so.
Interesting. Now, so do you think, General, that a dictatorship can survive in Nigeria? And I ask that question because
My answer is straight away no. I have been a military man, and I knew dictatorship is not good. So it can't be good in a civil society.
so you don't have any fears, of maybe Nigeria reverting to a one-party state,
No.
because that
The Nigerians will not allow it.
okay.
The Nigerians I belong, I know, they won't allow it. They will talk you out of it. You can say, okay, I'm tired. I don't want. Let's forget about this and go for.
Okay. All right, sir. So I want to shift gears now to talking about the Nigerian people. And again, we have seen a lot of Nigerians doing very well, both at home and abroad. But it seems that we have a lot of Nigerians abroad doing excellent things, and people are wondering why it is we don't have as much of the level of excellence. I consider whether you are home or abroad, we have enough examples.
No, I think the environment. This is why you are talking about brain drain.
Yes, essentially, yeah.
Okay, I think the environment should be created in such a way that people will be very motivated to work for the country. So I share the view very much that we made names in a lot of countries, US, UK. Nigerians are doing very, very well in all professions. And why not do the same here in our own country? So we have to create an environment that is suitable for this sort of service that the Nigerians have to give to their own country. I think it's possible.
Yeah. So somebody who has ruled for 8 years, what concrete steps will you recommend to deal with the problem of brain drain?
I think, like we have always done in this country, there is always, if there are problems, we tended to sit down, set up some bodies, set up a committee, set up bodies to look at these issues and make recommendations for the country, subsequently for the government. We have never done that. A body that looks at the problem of brain drain in the country and make a suggestion. We have always done it for political parties. We have done it for devolution of powers like national confab and so on. We have virtually talked about everything, but we didn't address this properly. So we should now, with people who are already there, people who are going to leave, we can set up a body to look at this and keep on advising government at all the time that how to combat this. It's a very serious thing.
It is. So I want to move to this section where I want to ask your counsel on a number of things. First of all, insecurity. There's a lot of insecurity, in the country, which we didn't used to have decades back. What else do you think ought to be done to manage the problem of insecurity in the country? I remember in 2015, a lot of people during the campaign were saying, "Oh, now we're going to have a general, and that's going to deal with the situation." But 8 years after, it hasn't really, changed the narrative.
Well, the problem of insecurity has been with us for quite a long time. That's number one. Number two, we must have acquired a lot of experiences now as a country on how to combat some of these problems. But this one has been on for quite a long time. And what we need is consistency in planning, consistency in the approach towards combating a particular situation. Virtually the solution to these problems are not easy because of the type of environment you find yourself. A soldier who goes to war and fought another army will not find it easy to fight insurrection or what we call stability operation within the country, because the concept of the two operations are completely new, completely different. So there needs to be more training for the armed forces or police or whatever the case. And there has to be the involvement of the ordinary people. We have what we call civil cooperation. You get the civilian involved to help also in combating this menace that we have in the country. So both the military, the civil population have to be involved. And there have to be people who are experienced and capable to do a lot of training together.
Yeah. What do you think about state police, sir?
At one time, the Nigerian didn't want to hear anything about this. What you said earlier,
yes, sir.
Perpetuation. He wanted to perpetuate himself. But patience paid. Now people are looking for it. They want it. Because some states, even at state level, they are clamoring now for state police to combat some of these problems. If it comes out, if Nigerians accepted it, I think it will work, because in fighting these operations, the knowledge of local environment is very, very paramount. So if the police are within the state, they should be able to fight the banditry within the states, because they know the people, they know the environment, the people know them, they know those who are going to be involved. So getting them to work together for a common cause will not be a problem at all. That is the whole purpose of this.
Yeah, and I asked that question because, of what just happened in Plateau during Christmas Eve. And I was reading in the papers today that the governors of the North Central zone of the country were planning to actually have some kind of organization or arrangement where they come together to take care of the security. Remember, the same thing happened in the Southwest, when late Akeredolu actually championed the idea of Amotekun. So it seems that we are getting to that point where this idea of local policing might be a good one. But the other question that follows that is, so what does it say of our federal security architecture? Yes, sir.
No, I think the thing is, it can force us as a people to rethink the way the federal system was working. And what you said will cause a need for a rethink. And if it is the process of rethinking, this is how you come out with state police or regional outfit and so on and so forth.
Okay, sir. So how significant is the role of the number one in the transformation of Nigeria?
It's very, very critical, and that is the whole essence of leadership. He is the leader of the country. He originates ideas on how to run the country. He protects the country in terms of security. He also makes sure the well-being of the citizens are all his responsibilities. So his role is already specified in the Constitution, and I think it is very critical.
Do you think that we should hold the people who hold that office responsible, whether this country is progressive or this country is not progressive? How much responsibility should we attach to people who have led or who will lead?
Well, I think the whole essence of leadership is what probably you are talking about. The leadership, once somebody is there, he sees himself as the leader of everybody in the country. The people should support him. People should encourage him. People should sanction him if he goes wrong somewhere. People should see him as the most powerful human being God has ever created in this country. I think the realization of this gives you an awesome weight on your head. So he needs the support of the people. He needs the backing of the people. And people should be able to say, okay, this is the role we could play. And there should be sanction for failure anywhere that happens. And that also has been spelled out.
So in your own experience, how did you carry the burden? Because, I'm sure, of course, there are people, to every issue there are two sides, and, everybody comes with strengths and weaknesses. In the way some of what was perceived as your own weakness was reported, how did you manage it? How did that make you feel as a leader? How did that affect some of the things that you did and said?
Now, this is, if you look at it this way, that's why a leader chooses people who will work with him, people who believe in him and believe in what he is trying to do for the country. They share the same ideas, they share the same conviction in the running of the country. And he also is able and capable to devolve powers, let's say, to the minister. A minister, if I have a minister for health, I support him, I allow him to do what he feels is the best thing for the country. I expected a lot from him, and he should be doing more talking to the people about what he is doing so that the people understand. And this is the only people who will understand him. And his job will be made easy.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. So how do you assess the role of a critic? So for instance, there was Gani Fayemi, when you were there. How did you...
In fact, I will tell you a story. If we come out with any policy, my first question to my staff and some cabinets, what did late Gani Fayemi say?
Interesting.
Then you hear people who say, no, sir, don't mind him. I say, no, listen to him. I like listening to him. I made it even a point to become his friend. He is very friendly with one of my former ministers, late Alex Akinyele.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
They were very good friends.
Yeah.
And he tried to make us good friends. Mm-hmm. I told Alex, I said, no, that man will not allow it. He said, no, sir, let's try. I said, okay, try. He calls him Aleko.
Yes.
So Aleko tried. Aleko came back. He said, I am succeeding, sir. I said, no, you will fail. So the last time, he said, okay, Aleko, you have bothered my life. Okay, take me to him. The day before, he called him back. He said, Aleko,
that's Gary.
Cancel that appointment. Aleko said, why? Don't make me look like a fool before the president. He said, no. I hear that somebody told me if I talk with him, I may change my mind on a number of issues. And I don't want to change.
Interesting.
So he came and told me, I said, Aleko, I told you that he is not going to change. He is a good critic. He doesn't want to be seen to be doing with somebody that people have already perceived is an evil genius.
So General, so how do you manage that? People calling you evil genius, donor. How did you manage it? When you were in power, yes, of course.
I was saying that, first of all, you are chairman.
Yes, Mr.
Momo.
Dr. Momo, yeah.
One day he asked me a question. He may not remember. We were coming out from my office. We were going down. He asked me a question under a tree.
Okay.
He said, how do you feel as a president of this big country?
Was that in Dodan Barracks or in Abuja?
It was in Dodan Barracks.
Okay.
So I simply told him, I said, I felt ordinary, just like you and me. I was only a president when I was in the office. When I come out, me and you are the same. You are Mr. Momo and Babangida. We are friends, we are both Nigerians, and so on. That's the way I put it to him. And if you know the country, the character of people, then that thing should never ever bother you at all. In 1977, I will tell you another story. During the Festival of Arts,
Festac.
where you brought Festac,
Yes,
you brought up everybody. General Obasanjo was touring the contingents of various countries.
Yes.
And he goes to this contingent, oh, how are you? How is this? They say, oh, no, everything is good. Everything is fine. We are proud of the way the Nigerians are treating us. Then he went to the next contingent, very good. The third contingent, how do you feel? Are you happy? Then hands went up. No, we are not. He said, without being told, this is a Nigerian contingent. Which was true. So you have to understand the people. You have to understand their mentality. For everything you said, the first thing is to say no. Then take the conversation
from there.
So one is used to the Nigerian way of doing things, and that helps because I know that if you show them that you are angry, one day they will do more.
What's your advice on the economy? So the President Tinubu came in and took that bold decision to say that subsidy is gone, even when some of his aides felt he shouldn't do it. What will be your counsel on economic matters, especially things that have to do directly with a livelihood of the ordinary man?
Well, a lot of things in economic situation is to take decision because you know that is the right thing to do. Some people may not agree, which is natural, especially as far as Nigerians. My only advice is they should do more talking to the people so that everybody understands. When we are trying to introduce SAP, a market woman in Ojo Lagos market talks about exchange rate of the dollar. That's why her clothing is more expensive now. So unless a lot of talking is being done, arranging that program on television, on radio, has been very, very effective. People understand. So if you come and then take the decision finally, you have no problem because you have talked about it.
But the problem in general, as we close, is that there's a lot of Nigerians that really find that very tough, and there's a lot of suffering, by the, people who have been affected by food inflation and the inflation of prices generally. So what do you think government ought to do to try to mitigate the impact of the suffering and the poverty that this induces, at least in the near term?
Well, I believe they have started providing palliatives in the Nigerian language. I don't know what that is, but there is palliative. This is in terms of providing food, even transport fare, and so on and so forth, just for the sake of the common man. But this common man is a Nigerian. You have to understand the way he thinks and try whatever you want to do to gear it towards what he, Nigerian, can understand and then put it into practice.
How were you able to compose that federal cabinet that you had, when you were president? A lot of stars in there, a lot of people of ideas. And I don't want to, maybe I'll let you mention the names, but my question is, how were you able to put them together, and how did you manage that kind of a cabinet?
Yeah, I think it was quite simple in the sense that I was fairly well traveled when I was in the military profession, and in the process, I met a lot of them in conferences, in seminars, and so on. And quite a number of them, to be honest, made a very good impression on me. And when God, in His infinite power, put me into the helm of affairs, I believed then, and I still believe right now, that we needed people like those we interacted with, because a lot of them, political scientists, social scientists, lawyers, and so on. And by God, their names kept on coming. And when I became the president, my first thought was how to set up a very good team to help us work for the country.
Right.
And it didn't take me time, first of all, because I knew them. I interacted with them. They knew me. So it is not difficult to get them to come and talk with. And when we sat down, I talked to my colleagues. They had no problem because they know them too.
Yeah.
Most of them are people who are eminent in this country in their very fields of ideas. When you talk of economy, for example, you have Professor Aboyade.
Yeah.
He was there. I saw him making a presentation to us in 1977.
Oh, wow.
He came, he gave us a chat about the economy of the country and so on. And
What were you doing there? Sorry. Yeah.
I was in the Supreme Military Council of Murtala Mohammed at that time,
Right.
late Murtala Mohammed.
Okay.
And he made a very impactful impression on me. And I didn't have any difficulty. When I found my way there, my mind went to him straight away.
Wow. Interesting.
And quite a lot of others also. Ransom Kuti, I was in the class. He came, he talked to us.
In the class?
Yes, I was in NIPS.
Oh, okay.
Institute
This
of...
is in Kuru.
Yeah. Ransom Kuti came to talk to us about primary health care. And we were assessing him also.
I see.
When we listened to him, we graded him very well, and we said, this country needs somebody like this. When I got there, I had no problem in inviting him to come and talk to me, and pleaded with him if he will work for the country. And quite a number of them, I know them very, very well.
Wow. So how were you able to, because you had quite a lot of stars, you had also people like Prince Bola Jibola there. How did you manage, to keep a lot of the stars together in one cabinet?
You see, the interesting thing, like Bola Jibola, I knew him, but I also know a lot of his close friends. People like late MKO,
Okay.
they are close friends. People like OBJ, they went to the same school.
Okay, that's General Basojo.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
true.
people like, I think there is one prominent person I also talked to about Bola Ajibola, and I didn't have any difficulty in getting him. The only fear they had then was whether the Nigerian Bar Association will accept that. But I pleaded with his close associates to talk to him. Is for the country, and he accepted it and did also exceptionally very well for us, and he saved us a lot of trouble.
Interesting. Okay, sir. So what would be your advice to the president on any general issue generally? What would you like to advise him?
I don't advise all my colleagues in public. I said that before, and I still maintain it. He is a very good man. One day I will sit down with him and we will discuss these issues.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your views, and we do very much appreciate having time.
And thank you for all your soul-searching questions.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
That's been General Ibrahim Badamosi Babangida on the show. And thank you, viewers, for listening. Inside Sources will be back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Here is our segment where we're going to have a panel discussion today on what is happening around the idea of social investment programs in Nigeria. As we all know, the former minister, the current minister of the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry, both of them are speaking to EFCC as we speak. Even the national coordinator of the National Social Investment Program Halima Shehu is also being investigated. So we want to get a sense what is really happening. To discuss the issues with me today, I have a distinguished panel that includes Dr. Umaru Bindir, who was the former secretary to the state government in Adamawa State, and whose last official position, I'm sure, was as the coordinator of the NSIPA. Dr. Bindir, it's good to see you again.
Thank you very much. I hope it's not belated to say Happy New Year.
Yeah, of course not. We are still in January. Also here with me in the studio, we have a leading journalist, the editor-in-chief of Frontline News, Ms. Kemi Yesufu. Kemi, it's good to see you.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you. And of course, also joining us virtually is somebody who was a beneficiary of the Empower. As you know, Empower is actually one of the programs under the Social Investment Program, and who is now an MSME ambassador himself, Mr. Orioye Benedict Bayishimori. You're welcome, Benedict.
Thank you for having me, Pastor. Thank you.
Excellent. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Orioye, who, like I said, has actually won a lot of distinction nationally for what he has been able to do after he left the Empower program. Now, tell us, Mr. Orioye, how do you feel about what is going on, considering the fact that this was the program, the Empower aspect of it, that actually gave you the break, and today you yourself have become an entrepreneur?
Well, first and foremost, let me thank you for giving us this opportunity to express our mind. In the first place, we are not happy with the exited Empower beneficiaries and the current one, because looking at the billions of naira flying around, you keep wondering what has happened to our exit package and so many other people that are seeing us as a role model to use this program to better their lot. Because indeed, this is a program that actually affected the life of the vulnerables and so many Nigerian graduates. And also, looking at this program is the largest and the biggest social investment program in the whole of Africa. So it gives some of us who are beneficiary and who are still benefiting from the program a real concern that the former minister and the current minister has a lot of questions to answer as regards what is happening there. But we feel that, the Economic and Financial Crime Commission will do justice to all of this so that we can put the program on the trajectory and the purpose which it was initiated by the office of the former Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibajo. Thank you.
Now, thank you, Mr. Orioye. Before you go, now, while you were a beneficiary of this program, how did the program go? What is your assessment? I think you benefited sometimes around 2016 or 2017. What was your assessment of the program, the Empower program, particularly at that time?
Well, for me, the program is a very laudable program where, the way the program is organized is a program that you can transition from one program to the other, because the program actually has a lot of cluster. For me as a person, I'm one of the beneficiaries from Ondo State, Elijah local government, precisely. Immediately, I started as an Empower beneficiary. We were handed over a tablet device then. So from that tablet device, there's a lot of entrepreneurship program that is embedded into the tablet. So from there, you can tap a lot of skills. A lot of entrepreneurship skills is embedded into the tablet. Prior before now, I was a fisherman, and I didn't actually know that there are a lot of things that I can do with it. So what I did was that I used the tablet device to fortify myself in terms of entrepreneurship, because the way the program is organized, it's organized in such a way that you learn from the Empower tab, you earn your 30,000 naira, and you now own an enterprise through the micro, small, and medium enterprise, MSME. So what really happened was that when we started, we're earning 30,000 naira, and then the school feeding program is also there, especially for those who are NAGU. It's an opportunity for them, whatever they are doing in their small scale farm, either at at a small level to actually be an off-taker for the school feeding program. So for me as a person, because I already have a fishing skill, so what I did, I haven't gone through the tablet device. I saw the skills there, business model, designing a business plan and every other thing. I tap into it. So from there, coincidentally, it was when they launched the National MSME Clinic. And then the federal government subsidized the program to about 50%. I took advantage of that from my Empire stipend. I registered a business, and from there, I pick it up. I approach the state focal person that I have all it takes since the school feeding program is coming to my state. And I have the opportunity, I was given the opportunity to be an aggregator of the school feeding program. So for me, it was from School Empower to MSME, and from MSME to the school feeding program. So today, where I am today, I am very grateful for the initiator of the program. I have benefited from it. I'm still benefiting because, of course, today I'm still an aggregator of the National Homegrown School Feeding. And being an aggregator of the National Homegrown School Feeding program has given me a lot of opportunity to be an employer of labor. So seeing all this today is a growing concern for us that indeed, could there still be hope?
Mr. Oriyo, thank you so much. Let me bring it right to the studio, and I'm going to start with Ms. Kemi Yusufu, a journalist. So, what we now have, we just heard what one of the beneficiaries had to say. What we now have is a situation, for instance, where the suspended minister is signing a memo to detail who gets what. What normally you would expect is the responsibility of the civil servant, probably the permanent secretary who is the chief accounting officer. Now, what do you think happened? Was the minister set up? In your view, what do you think is going on?
I think for me, if you look at most of the media reports, I analyze it to be personalization of a public office. Because it seems that the minister is giving orders instead of following, due process. And I also begin to wonder, where were the senior civil servants who were supposed to advise her and tell her that this is the formality, this is the process of, applying for such money or giving the go-ahead for such money to be paid.
So my concern here is how this affects the public interest. And, inside sources can disclose, even based on authoritative sources, that the immediate past Minister for Humanitarian Affairs, that's Madam Sadiq Farouk, and the suspended NSIP coordinator, Alima Shehu, went to the same school. As a matter of fact, we know that both Sister Alima and Sister Farouk, as I like to call them, both of them were friends. Sadia brought, just to your point, Sadia brought Alima to the ministry. But of course, something happened during the campaign, and they fell out. Now, I hope that is not what is driving all of this, including the fact that Betta Hedu herself, came in also from the campaign, and somebody else expected to be in that position. I'm going to take the issue to Dr. Bindu. Now, Dr. Bindu, in terms of the structure, you have worked in the ministry, in the agency. You yourself, you are a veteran federal civil servant. I know that very well. Most people don't know. You've been a director in the ministry. You've acted as permanent secretary in the federal ministry. You were the secretary to the state government in Adamawa. Is it a personalization, like Kemi said, or there is a structural problem in how we are dealing with poverty alleviation in Nigeria?
Well, thank you. Poverty has always been the problem of this country for a long time. And it's high time that Nigerians understand that the two major problems we have in our country is corruption and poverty. Unfortunately, these two things fuel each other. If corruption is very high, provision of goods and services, welfare things, and so on becomes very weak. That creates poverty. When poverty is very high, you find that people are looking around for anything to capture, and poverty will also. So each time you have these two mixing up, the flames of the fire get bigger. So we must find a way of breaking that so that corruption will be less and poverty will be less.
do you think that the crisis that we have now, which is a crisis in this issue of social investment program, is it caused by a structural inadequacy, or what can be called personalization of office?
Well, I don't want to be very...
With your experience.
Yeah.
No, so do you think it's structural? Is the structure the problem? You have worked in that office.
Yes. Structures themselves don't actually drive things completely, but that is why I always hinge on poverty alleviation is not a single sector issue. When you are a driver of poverty and a poverty structure, you must be a friend to everybody. Otherwise, you will not succeed. You must, if you're a minister, you have to work with your permanent secretary very closely. You must work with your own management, all the directors very, very closely. If you're a minister, you have to work with the heads of agencies in other ministries too. So if you are in poverty alleviation, the Minister of Water Resources must like you. Otherwise, you will not conquer the lack of potable water issue. If you're a minister for poverty, you must be liked by the Minister of Health. Otherwise, the health issues and so on, and agriculture and so on and so forth. So the first principle is that you have to relax, and then you have to be, a very connecting person. You know what I mean? You have to relate. You have to facilitate for that coordination, complementarity, lack of friction and rivalry, so that you can succeed. So you have to be technically prepared, and you have to exude the technicality to make sure you survive. So it's secondly, or maybe finally too, is that you must have a very, very strong, feedback system. Your monitoring and evaluation has to be very sharp. You have to be timely in that. You have to listen to people, like this young man who spoke. You need this type of thing, not only spoken to the ministry, but also to Nigerians that, hey, this is working. Look at me. I've changed my life. I wasn't employed. Now I'm employing labor.
Yeah.
I was not making money. Now I'm making money. To the extent that I found a window within the program that made me. I am now an aggregator in the school feeding program. So the whole thing is a snowballing, So therefore you need this feedback system constantly. You cannot rest like probably other sectors.
Okay, Dr. Binder, if the president were to call you and say, please, in 1 minute, what should I do with NSIP crisis, what will you tell him?
I will tell him that, Mr. President, sir, I will advise that it's the crisis. You've already assigned the relevant institutions to quench the fires of the crisis. But because poverty is your key, this renewed hope actually is solving poverty hope. You know what I mean? You must hear the reports on all poverty activities every single month.
Excellent. I want to come back to you, Kemi. So we have a situation where there is a lot of suspicion, back to your point, because I'm quite interested in exploring it further, that some of those documents that are being leaked out, are coming from people that are aggrieved. As a journalist, can you tell us whether, from your investigation or what you know, that this is actually what is happening?
Well, I can't say, because I can't, I can't say directly, because I'm also a consumer of the media, and most of the information I've gotten, to be honest, is from the media. So I can't say the exact source of a document, but from experience, I learned very early in my career that in most cases, you get such information from aggrieved parties.
Just to support what you said, what we actually know was that there was an attempt by and this is in the realm of speculation, but it's important to put this information out, that the NSIP coordinator, like you said, moved the money because the minister, without our consent, actually tried to change the signatories in the remitter account. So, which is why I'm trying to probe the issue of the personalization. It seems that we just have people fighting over public resources. What do you think the president should do, Kenny, before we go back to our guest on the
president has started well, to be honest, and I think that's why the tension, came down from that high, mountaintop, it went down because the president reacted swiftly compared to the last 8 years where we had an aloof president who was like the barometer of, he was the barometer to measure a president's credibility, measure his appointees' competence, their transparency, and, their achievements. But this president immediately reacted to the outcry from the public. He suspended, Betta Edu. He sacked Halima Shehu as national coordinator.
I think she was suspended too.
Suspended too. And then even the minister of the interior minister, who is seen as probably the best minister, once he was mentioned as a company he had interest in, he was summoned immediately. And then the president also ordered the FCC to conduct, an proper investigation. So what the people would like to see, what I would like to see as a Nigerian and as a journalist, is to ensure that this is not what we call initial gragra in Nigeria, that this process is done transparently, in very professional manner by the anti-corruption agencies and also by the Minister of Finance, who has been directed to come up with a new, method of structure for funding and expenditure, that everything is completed, and that when the process is completed, that even those who are supposed to be prosecuted are prosecuted, in a timely fashion.
Mr. Orioye, what would you like to ask the president to do on this all-important issue? What would you like to see going forward regarding social investment program?
Yes, regarding the social investment program, what I would like to say, the first thing is that one, Mr. President must be very deliberate in eradicating poverty from the country. And secondly, the president must make sure that there's transparency in the program. That is all I want the president to do.
Excellent. Last word, Dr. Binder. What's your last word?
Yeah, well, I think just like Kemi said, the president acted very sharply. And even before that, you remember last week or so, President gave a very, very clear picture of how he wants his government to be run. Every minister must give prompt report of whatever they plan, especially as the budget has been approved. And I will add one thing more for Mr. President, that Mr. President encourage every single minister, when they go to present their memo at the Federal Executive Council, they should present it using PowerPoint. That way, you can digitize all the ministers and gradually digitize all the ministries. And digitization, deployment of ICT is a tool for omnipresence, and also it's a tool to encourage transparency and accountability. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Binder. Thank you, Kemi Yusufu, and thank you so much, Mr. Orioye, Benedict Baishemore. Thank you so much for listening. We believe that that the government is listening, and like everybody has said, Mr. President has started well in dealing with this matter, and we hope that he will take it all the way to ensure that this noble program, that is the social investment program, actually delivers on its promise, which has happened before in this country. Thank you so much for watching Inside Sources. My name is Laolu Akonde, and I'll be back again next week.